It's Nicole here, and I am chatting with Where's My Naya? And
Hi.
so, I just wanted to ask, how have you been holding up? And how have you been distracting yourself through all this?
I have discovered many hobbies. I've got Sims. I found a ukulele, so I'm doing that. Started writing for a different ship.
So I'm glad you were able to, find the time to hop on this little thing with me. I have to admit, we talked about doing this a few days ago, and in preparation, I actually went and reread Sloppy Babies. It was one of the it was one of the first big Brittana fics I read. And here's the thing about me, I'm very particular about Santana and fanfics. I'm kind of like Goldilocks. Sometimes I'll be like, this Santana is too soft. This Santana is too hard. It takes a very specific kind of fic to make me go, this Santana is just right. Because there's so many flavors of Santana, if you will. I feel like Sloppy Baby Santana is that flavor of Santana is bad girl Santana. I feel like we are, as a fandom, are sort of drawn to that flavor of her. That sort of dark and withholding, untamable beast kind of thing. I wondered, what is it about the fandom that, why do we love to read that?
Personally, I love a woman that can just, beat my ass, really. Oh my god, am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah.
Okay, oh thank god, because, honey, Australia has done something to me. But I'll keep it tame. But yes, I totally believe that. We love women that are just, they're snarky and sarcastic, and they can beat your ass and tease you, and just, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm nasty. I don't know.
I love that answer. I love it. I love Bad Girl Santana.
It's my favorite. I'm sure you've watched Coyote Ugly, because everyone, it's rite of passage for girls and gay girls. But Rachel, I think that was her name, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know how old I was when I first watched that movie, but when she punched that guy in the end in the face and was like, "Shut up, my girl is singing," I shipped it instantly. I was like, maybe them two should be together. Rachel and, what's her face? Piper Perabo?
I love that. So yeah, I reread that, and I think that's one of I don't know. I love dreamy, withholding Santana. And that just ugh.
That was such a fun fic to write.
I don't know. I remember when I first read it, it sort of took me away to this, I don't know, it took me away. It swept me off my feet, the story.
Oh my god, stop.
I loved it. And so revisiting it, I was just oh, I want to go back to those times.
Damn, maybe I should reread it.
I remember when I first read it, that first chapter, I was like, is this Quinn and Brittany? Is this a Quinn and Brittany fic? I think it was interesting to sort of, introduce the story that way.
Maybe it's unpopular opinion, but I love, the Unholy Trinity, friendship. Even though we didn't really get that on Glee, but I just love them, the idea of them being, just super close.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love writing that too and incorporating it in little ways in my own fics, even though the stupid show didn't give us anything. So
fic writers, we carried that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We built that. Yeah.
We provided. We fed.
Alrighty. So I have some questions here from this questionnaire thing. Is there a story you're holding off on writing for some reason? Specifically for Brittana?
Well, recently I found this file where I think I was trying to come up with ideas to match Hayley Kiyoko songs, specifically Sleepover.
Uh-huh.
I think I was feeling very angsty at that time, so I was like, I could do that. I could go off on that song with them, but I don't know, I just never did it.
That's cool. What work of yours, if any, are you the most embarrassed about existing?
Oh my god. Well, from the very, very beginning of ever writing, I think it was 2012, maybe 2013, I did this grocery store AU
Mm-hmm.
called Working Girls.
Oh, that's so cute.
Anybody's like first story is kind of a little cringy, but I basically wrote it like about my life as a cashier at a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't plan any of it out. I just started writing, and it was my first time ever writing for Brittana, first time ever writing like any type of fic, and I just started writing, and it got to like I think 40 chapters.
Whoa.
And then it stopped, and I was like, I don't actually know what I'm doing with this. I was bringing in all kinds of like, I have plot holes on plot holes. I was like Ryan Murphy with that fic. I just had to put her to bed. So, I actually had somebody ask me, like a long time ago, they were like, oh, I really loved that fic. Do you have it still? And I was like, ooh, honey, no. She is no longer with us.
Aww.
Yeah, sorry to that person.
But I think I said this like in my previous little chat with LK, is that sometimes I think stories get us to where we need to be as writers, and sometimes it's just the exercise of it.
Yeah, totally feel that.
Favorite character you've written? So what's the favorite version of Santana and Brittany that you've written?
I thought about this question too, and it's so funny that you brought up Sloppy Babies, because that's the Santana that I was thinking of was my favorite Santana of all time. So, like, we connected there. But, I think with writing hella prompts, like, I don't know how many prompts I did with that thing, but it really, like, exercised my character writing skills. Like, I could put them in any, like, scenario. They were doctors, they were presidents, I had a prompt that wanted me to write Santana as straight. You know, that's the last she is. But it was really interesting to, like, try to tap into that and write her that way. So, I don't know, there's just so many that I've done. But Sloppy Babies, Santana really sticks out to me.
She is so dreamy, and so,
If I wasn't married. Just kidding.
Okay, what's the character you were most surprised to end up writing?
Sue Sylvester and Two Ghosts. And also Figgins. Like, I had to watch a bunch of compilation videos, like on YouTube or whatever. Like, I think it's really important to get the character right when you write it. So I think about, like, voice when I'm reading things, and if I read something and it doesn't sound like something that they would say, I'm, like, instantly lost and turned off. And I'm like, go away.
Let's see. Something you would go back and change in your writing that it's too late or complicated to change now.
Falling in Luck. I think about that one, like, all the time. And I feel like I should have, there's a chapter that I could have ended it at, and then I didn't, because, I don't know, I just felt like, I could keep going. And then I went, like, a couple more chapters, and I was like, actually, I'm kind of bored with this one now. And then I lost interest, and like all of my other stories, I lose interest in.
No judgment here. No judgment here. I have...
Right? Like, it's hard to keep going.
When asked, are you embarrassed or enthusiastic to tell people that you write fanfic?
Somebody just yesterday asked me about... Well, I told them I had been writing during lockdown and everything. And they were like, oh, what do you write? And I was like, even after all these years, I have no idea to how to explain. Like, I don't want to say fan fiction. I guess I am embarrassed. But, I don't know. Like, when I first started writing, I was still getting comfortable with, like, being gay. And I was using writing as, like, an outlet to, like, process those feelings. When I talked about fan fiction, I, like, related it to being gay. And I was like, ooh, both are, like, really hot topics for me. I don't want to talk about it. Subject change kind of thing. But now I think I feel a little bit more relaxed.
I feel like a lot of that, I don't know if it's shame or whatever. Like a lot of, not older people, but like people who have been in fandom for a while, like carry that. Whereas I feel like, I don't know, it's sort of a little bit more normalized in like younger folk.
I agree with that. I mean, I owe everything to writing fan fiction. Like, I think my ability to communicate, like in my like real life and like in relationships and stuff, I think my ability to communicate my feelings and that kind of stuff is all thanks to writing fan fiction and writing characters who are trying to process feelings and emotions and get deep. And because I had to write that, like, I also had to learn those skills.
Oh, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. I love that. That's beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, what's your favorite genre to write? Like angst, fluff?
I am a sucker for some angst. I know it's not one of your strong points, your favorite things to write about or read about, because you like rom-coms and stuff, but which I do like as well. I love a good laugh. I love fics that can really like make me laugh out loud, and I'm like, damn, this was funny. And like I don't think I could do that very well. I think I've practiced it, but I think I'm funny. But angst, for me, I like to make people feel like my pain.
See, yeah, I can take it to an extent. Once it gets into like character death and all that, I can't. Classic miscommunication between partners. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, let's keep it safe. I'm not gonna go into the extent of like color and influence. Like, I'm gonna leave that angst with them. I still can't listen to I don't know if you've ever seen it. Somebody made a fan video to color, and it was the song was Wherever You Will Go.
Oh.
I don't know who the artist is, but it was like a girl version of that song, and oh my god.
I think I haven't seen it, but I think I saw like the little like title card on YouTube.
Yeah, you're like, nope.
Yeah. Another thing I found on YouTube was somebody recut the school shooting scene where it like they recut it and like chopped it up to make it look like Brittany died. It wrecked me, and yet I watched it like 5 times.
People out here, they're trying to get us.
Yeah. Oh,
they're trying to make us cry.
What do you think your weakness is as an author?
Continuity. I get a good idea every once in a while, and I get really, like, obsessed with it, and, like, I'll just write about it 24/7, think about it 24/7, and then I just can't finish.
Oh my gosh, me and you were the same person right there.
I don't know, well, if you've ever read, like, the classics, I Need a Medic, Room 47, like, I think about those fics, and they were so freaking good, and then they were, like, left unfinished, and, of course, like, I get that. But I'm like, am I one of those people? Like, am I doing that too? Leaving somebody out here, thinking about it, it's 2020, those fics were updated like, I don't know, 2016, 15, 14, something. And like, every now and then I'm like, even my wife loved, I Need a Medic. And sometimes just out of nowhere, she's like, damn, you remember I Need a Medic? But like, R.I.P., that was a good one.
Yeah. It's like, I know what it is to long for a fixed conclusion, but I can't imagine anybody longing for any conclusion to my story. I can't flip it around. I can't, like, comprehend that.
Yeah, I feel that.
So what do you think your strengths are as an author?
Going back to, like, hella prompts, I think it was really wild that I was able to fill so many of them. Sometimes, like, I would do all of those, and, like, I would do, like, 4 or 5 in a day.
Oh, wow.
And just churn them out. And now I think that's just so ridiculous because I can barely write, like, 1,000 words in one sitting. And I was doing that, so I was, like, really pumping them out. I guess that was once a strength of mine. I don't know where it is now.
The fandom was, I feel like, it was in different shape than it is now. So I feel like maybe we had more inspiration or more passion because it was so active at the time.
That's so true, yeah.
Okay, do you make playlists for your works? Like, do you, like, concoct these, like, elaborate soundtracks?
Oh, I wish. I'm all for that. I don't know about full-on playlists, but a lot of my fics have been inspired by, like, a song, and I'll just replay that one song over and over and over again. And a lot of my stories have been written to, like, One Direction songs. So, a little embarrassing, but sometimes they really hit home, you know?
were there any works you read that affected you so much that it influenced your writing style?
So many fics. My number one all-time favorite fic, Rhythms. That story had me crying under a blanket at 3 a.m., like by myself in the dark. I was gone. And I read it like almost, I haven't read it this year, but I usually read it like once a year just to make sure that, you know, I know where I came from.
Oh my
But there's just so much. There's so many stories. We have so many good writers in this fandom. I've maybe read like a handful of stories from other fandoms, and I always thought like the caliber of like writers was everywhere. Everybody had good stories, and it really is not like that. Brittana really paved the way, I think.
Oh my god, Rhythms. That is so
Rhythm.
That's the kind of angst I can get with, because it's like, it's not life or death. It's just miscommunication, misunderstanding, stuff like that. Oh.
I love Brittany in that Rhythms because she had that, you know, you usually see Brittany as someone that's like, not that she's soft, but she's always there to help Santana along, and you never really get her side of the story. Mm-hmm. You just see like the after effects. But in that story, she did not play around. She was like, Santana, get your shit together, please.
There's a couple of scenes in there where it's like, they're not, I think confrontation is like maybe the wrong words, but it's like the two of them go head to head in a conversation, and it's like watching this like masterful tennis game back and forth, and it hits you on both sides.
Yes, definitely. She gets full on. And I think that's something that I really like about their relationship. I think fic writers, like, we took care of that, because in the show, she's just cast off as like dumb blonde, whatever. But Santana is a snarky HBIC, like, she didn't get there with somebody as her best friend being, like, just agreeing to whatever she did. Mm-hmm. You know, Brittany was over there checking her and, you know, saying her 2 cents on the side, too. Brittany's, like, low-key snarky.
This is sort of, like, going on a tangent, but, like, last summer I started this weird project because I was bored and I couldn't find anything new to read in the Brittana fandom. So what I did is I went to fanfiction.net, and I entered, like, the couple information, Brittany Santana pairing. I did that, and instead of starting at the very, like, last page for them, I went back to page 1, and I'm like, I'm gonna read every Brittana fanfic from the very beginning. I found myself for several weeks just, like, I didn't read every single story, but I read everyone that, like, had an interesting title, interesting summary. But I was reading fics that were, like, from 2009, 2010. Before the show really gave us a sense of those characters, stories that were like written very early on when we were just getting little like background scenes. And yet somehow before the show even revealed who they were as characters, the fandom, I found, like, the writers had keyed into that already, and they were writing the dynamics that the show would later go on to sort of convey. And I found that so interesting because that's weird. I don't know. I thought that was weird and also kind of cool how the fandom knew who they were before the show did.
Yep. Agreed. I mean, we should have all been hired to write because, or you know what? I also low-key think that they were trolling fanfiction, and I was like, all right, what are these people up to? What are they thinking? Because they clearly had no good ideas.
You know
what I mean?
I absolutely, yeah. Some, like, fandom stuff did actually end up translating to the show.
Them singing Heya at the wedding.
Yeah.
That was a big-ass troll.
Yeah, it wasn't until a few years ago where I learned that the Unholy Trinity, like, that title came from fanfic, and then they put it into the show.
What's her face? Sugar from the future?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, man.
They took that. They ran with it.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to more complicated narratives, how do you keep track of outlines, characters, development, timelines, and etc.?
So I have this really cheap, bright green journal that I used to, like, handwrite everything down in all my ideas and storylines. I would, like, break it up by chapter.
Mm-hmm.
I would take that book with me to, like, class, like, in college and stuff, and I would, like, write in it whenever, like, a thought came to me, and then I'd eventually just spend the whole class writing in it, so, which is, you know, don't do that, but, yeah, so I had this green, and then I would, had all of my stories in it. I would put, like, hella prompts in there, anything. That was, like, my Brittana Bible. But it's actually, I've left it in America.
I hope you keep that.
Look, I hope my mom hasn't found it. I'm pretty sure there's smut in there.
Oh my gosh.
So, she's probably gonna flip through that and be like, oh god, more gay stuff. Okay, put it away. Let me just close that up. But I miss it. I miss it now when I'm trying to write. I'm just like, oh, I love handwriting things. Like, I've got this, like, laptop or whatever, and it has one of those stylus things, and you can, like, write on it and stuff, which is all great and everything, but something about handwriting, that kind of stuff, it really, like, brings me back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for one of my stories, It Was Love to Me, I wrote in a notebook. Like, the first, I don't want to say several chapters were written in a notebook. And it's like, I had laptops and I had, like, desktop computers, but I'm just like, I need to get this out in this form. There's something about the ritual of it. I don't know.
Yeah, like, just tapping into it. Like, sometimes I would sit in, like, a Starbucks and get all moody with it and, like, write it all down, and then somebody would come over and I'd, like, quickly close it. Like, what? What do you want? I'm not doing anything. I'm not writing smut.
I miss being able to do that now that we're all in lockdown. I would go to Starbucks with my laptop and just, like, work out a scene, and yeah.
Yeah, I found this thing on YouTube where it's like a virtual, like, somebody set up a camera and it's, like, focused out the window, and there's, like, a coffee there, and they play, like, you can hear the background noises and stuff of, like, a cafe.
Uh-huh.
So I usually put that on, like, my TV and then have my laptop, and I'll make, like, a little coffee for myself and just have it there. It's like a fake cafe.
That's so cute and interesting. Because, I don't know, like, I have my laptop and my desktop, and I could work at home, but it just, sometimes you need to escape your normal surroundings in order to tap into something.
Yes, totally.
Okay. What do you think when you read over your older work?
Who said that this was okay? Who said you can make these people feel these kind of feelings? What were you thinking? Are you going to finish that story? Oh, you should have edited that one more. Mm-hmm. That one's actually funny. But maybe you just think that by yourself. I've got a lot of inner dialogue going whenever I read things.
Mm-hmm. Everything I write is sort of on that weird, humorous slant. And I don't know if anybody reads my fics, there's not just jokes like that are formulaic. Sometimes the jokes are just like, they're very subtle, and sometimes it's in the inflection of like how I hear it in my head. That's what makes it funny to me, the inflection. The people reading this, can they pick up on what's funny about this, or is this just me?
Yes, I totally agree with that. I feel like dialogue is a really big one for me. So when I write, a lot of the times I'm writing and saying the words like out loud. And when it comes to dialogue, like I'm saying it the way that I would want people to say it, like in their head. But I mean, obviously they're not going to read it the same way that I'm reading it.
Mm-hmm. Are there any subjects that make you uncomfortable to write?
Ooh, yes. I'm agreeing with LK, what y'all said in the other episode, and say rape. Like, I try to keep away from the heavy stuff like that. I write a lot about things that I've experienced and things that I know, because, like, I won't be insensitive with it. And I think that topic there, like, I'll leave it to the people that know how to handle that. I would not know how to handle that.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it is, for some people, a cathartic experience. Maybe some people need to read that. But for for me, like, fanfic is sort of my happy escape. And so when I read, I usually just want to laugh. I don't know. Maybe for some people, it's a different experience that they need to, I don't know, get through. Any obscure life experiences that you feel have helped your writing?
There's this movie that I watched a long time ago, called Stuck in Love. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's about like a bunch of writers, like this family of writers. And this quote that has really stuck with me: nothing needs to happen after a writer turns 20 because they've already experienced enough to last them like their creative life. And I always thought like, wow, that's like really deep. But you're 20, you're young. Like, really? But 2013, girl, that was my dark year, I like to call it. I experienced so much. I think I came out that year, or I came out the year before. So I had like that going on. I was trying to like delve into my feelings about like, am I in love with my best friend or am I projecting?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. So I was dealing with that. I had a really like kind of sketchy like home life. So I was dealing with really like major rocky things. And I was like going to like parties and stuff. And I would think I was sort of like going on like a downward spiral, like just casually. And I was like, look, I need to do something differently. Like, I used writing as a way to process all of that. I didn't write specifically about like whatever like was going on in my life, but I just used writing as a way to like help me feel, because I was one of those people that I'm feeling emotions, lock that shit up. I don't want to express it. I don't want people to know I'm hurting, so don't worry about it. So I used writing as a way to feel.
Have you ever become an expert on something you previously knew nothing about in order to better a scene or a story?
I'm like constantly going on like Google searches and like on these tangents of like researching something, because I don't want to start talking about something that I know nothing about. When I was doing hella prompts, I was always looking up something. Like, I had to write Brittany, I think, as like what is it called? A physiotherapist or something. So I'm like, all right, that's bones, I guess. I don't know how to Google that. Santana as a doctor, how to Google that. President Brittany. I don't know what presidents do, so I had to Google that. Everything. I'm just constantly Googling everything.
Even if it's like such a tiny detail that that the reader is not going to be giving any like mind to, I'm like, no, it has to be right.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't read other people's fics and think, what? That is not what that person does. Like, they don't crack open a chest that way. Like, my medical experience is, like, from Grey's Anatomy. Like, I don't know anything. Writers, we really, like, go into depth and make sure that we got our shit correct.
Yeah, it's like we expect more from ourselves than we do from others. Like, we forgive others more.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. What's the weirdest AU you've ever come up with?
Straight Santana. I think that was so weird. I don't even remember how, like, I don't even know what came of that, but I think I had to do it at least 3 times, because, like, I was asked for different parts to it. And I was like, wow, really? Straight Santana. Alright. No judgment. Do you?
Let's see. What is your favorite fanfic trope? Both to read and then to write.
I'm a sucker for a coffee shop fic. I admit it.
So, they're not my thing, but you know what? If they're a comfort to somebody else, hey, go for it.
I don't know what episode that was when you were talking about how you feel about coffee shop fics and how, like, nothing happens. And I'm like, damn, you're right. Nothing does happen. I don't understand why I'm in love with them so much. But I think it's just, like, the romance of it, how you can be at some place doing, whatever you're doing by yourself, and then cross paths with somebody in the coffee shop. It's like that song, the one about falling in love in the coffee shop. And I'm just like, damn, am I a hopeless romantic?
There is like a quaintness to it that I do think is charming. I will watch, like all of those like Hallmark movies, like the Hallmark Christmas movies and like holiday movies, and then their generic romantic comedies. I will watch all of those, and I'm just like inside, this would be better with Brittana.
Yes, I'm like, yes, but make it gay.
Yes.
Well, like, I'll sit through and watch it, like, with my mom or something during the holidays, and she's just, like, bawling over, some vanilla couple with a vanilla storyline and whatnot, and I'm like, ugh. But I'm pretty sure I've read, like, the same storyline with Brittana at least 100 times.
And it's so much better.
And loved every moment.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so we answered what your favorite fanfic trope is. Mm-hmm. What's the fanfic trope that you wish would go away?
I think the student-teacher thing is a bit weird. There's this movie coming out, I think. I don't even know what it's called, but two really attractive people are going to play it, and it's like a girl-on-girl kind of situation, but one person is relatively a lot older than the other one, and it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. No, I get that. Okay, what's your favorite fanfic AU scenario or setting? Both to read and to write.
Fanfic scenario.
Yeah, like Rockstar AU.
I have a soft spot for, like, a badass Brittany.
Oh, yeah?
Those are really lovely to write. Read. See? I'm just thinking about it. I got all, like, weird feeling. I instantly thought of, like, Room 47, and I was like, I'll take that, Brittany. Thank you. Badass Brittany, sure. I love sometimes, like a bumbling idiot, very nervous gay Santana. I always have, like, a little soft spot for that one. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's so many more. I just can't think of it.
Badass Brittany is very cute to me, although mine is like Badass Santana. Which,
yes.
Yeah. Would you or have you ever written an unhappy ending?
Yes. So I had a prompt, Phil, for, I think it was Santana was going to propose to Brittany on New Year's Eve, and I had to write it, Brittany declining the proposal. That was hurtful.
Wow.
And I was like, what? In what scenario would Brittany decline this? So it took me a long time to, like, how do I finesse it so that it's like it fills the prompt, but also, like, it leaves it open for, the good things, because, Brittana is endgame. Mm-hmm. We don't know them any other way.
Let's see. If you could have one authentic item from your favorite fandom world, what would it be?
Authentic item? I don't even like cats, but I would like Lord Tubbington.
Oh, cute. What is the strangest thing you've done to honor your favorite fandom, ship, or character?
Oh, I don't think I have anything strange. I've always wanted to get a tattoo, but I could never figure out what I wanted. And then I was like, what if, like, somebody asks me, like, sees the tattoo and they're like, oh, like, what is that? And then I have to explain this, and then, I don't know, then I started to feel weird that I've got a tattoo, like, for a fandom, and I'm like, but I mean, they really helped me a lot in life, so I'm also like, who cares? Like,
yeah.
I don't know, I'm really conflicted on that one.
I knew this dude in high school, and I guess he was, like, held back a few times, so he was quite older, and so one day he came to school with, like, this giant Spider-Man tattoo, like, across his chest, and he was, like, showing it off, and I'm like, wow, so are you, like, a huge Spider-Man fan, or, like, you read the comics, you were into movies, what, like, you were really into Spider-Man, because you got this giant Spider-Man tattoo, right? And he's like, no, not really.
What?
So people get tattoos just because they want tattoos.
I couldn't. Like, I have one tattoo, and it's of my dogs, who passed away, like, a few years ago. It's on my, like, inner forearm, so whenever I'm at work, like, guests see it, and they're like, oh, that's so cute. Like, you know, they'll ask me about it. And, like, I don't know how to finesse in real life. So I'm like, oh, they're my dogs. They died. And I took it really hard. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. It's fine. I'm just gonna go now. Like, I can't do it. I don't know how to explain things without making people, like, uncomfortable.
Aww. Are you what George R.R. Martin would call an architect or a gardener? As in, how much do you plan in advance versus letting the story unfold as you go?
I would definitely be an architect. I need structure, or else I never come to an end.
This isn't really, I don't know if this is a question or not, but I saw this Tumblr post just a couple days ago, and it made me think. I'm just going to read it out loud. It says, my favorite thing is how some authors have some specific dialogue tags they like to use, like he exhaled or whatever, and sometimes they use one more often than the others, and it kind of reminds me of a fingerprint. No other author could exactly emulate the thoughtless habits of other authors. It feels nice to notice the little unique things that you do that make your writing all your own. You know, it doesn't need your name to be plastered all over it to communicate that it belongs to you and came from you. So, that said, do you think you have a fingerprint?
That was so deep. Jeez. I think I write Santana clenching her jaw because I always see it in my head of her just, like, trying to, like, bite her tongue in saying things or feeling something. And I always think when I write clenched jaw or whatever, it's, like, her way of, like, stifling those feelings. Let me reel it back in. Or something to do with, like, her hands, like, fiddling with her hands, because she's such a, like, nervous little mouse. Does that thing with her hands, you know? Like, where she just, like, kind of rings them out and fiddles with them. Oh, I say rings them out a lot. I think those are, like, my tops.
I'm sure I have those where I use a specific tag a lot, and it probably gets annoying for the reader. So I'm sure I have those. But there's also these other little fingerprints I feel like I leave, and sometimes they're on purpose and sometimes they're not. Like, for instance, there's, like, a joke. It doesn't really even make sense, except it does in my head. And I have incorporated the same joke into, like, 3 or 4 different fics. And
oh my God, what is the joke? I need to know now.
It's not even a joke. Sometimes in fics, somebody will get drunk, and whoever's drunk, I'll have them sort of being sloppy and like, I'm not drunk, you're drunk. This whole courtroom is drunk. And the other person will be like, what courtroom? Like, we're in a bathroom.
Yes.
That's the little piece. It's in like 3 or 4 of my stories. This whole courtroom is drunk. It's not really like a traditional joke, but it's something weird in my head, and I'm like, I like it for some reason, and I put it in like 3 or 4 of my stories.
Yes, I love it. I like it as well. Like, it's relatable. We all do that. Well, I do that. I don't know about everybody else.
Do you have anything like that you purposely weave into your stories like that? Like an Easter egg that's just for you? That's your fingerprint?
I think I've done it maybe twice now in a couple of my stories where I'll have, like, side characters, which I don't really like doing because I think the main focus should be, like, Brittana and stuff. And for me personally, when I start to introduce this, like, side characters that I've made up, I don't know, I just leave them kind of hanging. But I've done it a couple of times where the characters have been based on my growing up with my best friend and how the feelings that we had there were, like, very gay. At least I thought they were very gay. So I've incorporated that little thing into side characters. Like, okay, I know y'all, yes, we have Brittana, and they're very, like, openly meant to be together. But you also have these side characters here, and I don't know, but you might feel something for them as well. Like, they're kind of angsty. They're sort of similar to Brittana, but not in that way. I don't know. It's a weird thing I've been doing. I think I named them the same names as well. Like, very original.
Have you ever like had this experience where sometimes you'll be writing a story and you sort of need to fill out time, or you need to create like a side character, or perhaps use an existing lead character, and it's not somebody you have any great affection for, but you insert them into the story. And then as you go along and you write, you find that you've through the process of putting them in the story, you've formed a certain affection for them. And so you begin to care about a character that the show didn't even like make you care about. Because I found myself doing that, and I have this Rockstar AU, and it's called You Instead. And let's see. Danny is a character, and I just threw her in there because I'm like, she plays guitar, we need another female character in there. Bam. And then as I went through the story, I'm like, I care about this character. I want to give her a happy ending. I want to give her a girlfriend. And so that's weird. So now when I see GIFs of like Glee's Danny on my Tumblr like dashboard or whatever, I'm like, oh, not because of Canon Danny, because we don't really even know who Canon Danny is because they didn't explore that. But I feel something because I think of my Danny.
Yeah. For me, my person would be Quinn. She's like maybe my top other character that I always write about, because I just feel like Glee they did her so dirty. And she's like, I mean, Diana's such a good actress, so they could have like gone off with that, but they just didn't. And there's just so many unanswered questions. So I like to incorporate her in my stories. And usually she'll start off with like one side of Unholy Trinity until they all become like one. Yeah, I have like such a connection to her whenever I'm writing anything.
No, I feel like for sure fandom has taken care of Quinn or explored Quinn more. And I think it's so interesting that like the Brittana fandom, we're a fandom of a ship of a specific pairing. Like we pick out these Glee characters and we sort of attach ourselves to them, like Sugar and Quinn. If you go through like the thousands of fics about Brittana, it's like they're a common denominator. And I think that's just interesting, like who we attach ourselves to and then who we're like, ugh, you. Like Sam or something.
Yes, look, Sam, unpopular opinion, I love Sam from season 2,
yes.
And that was it. They just demolished that character. They could have done something like so much better with him than just, I don't know what they were doing with that. But I like to write about him too and just keep him far, far away from Brittany, of course. But, you know, have his own little journey on the side, because I liked his character in season 2. I thought he was sweet. I liked him with Quinn.
Yeah, I like him with Mercedes. I feel like those two, I feel like they're just like sweethearts together. So that was it. The fingerprint one was my last question. But is there anything you'd like to say to the fandom before we sign off?
It's 2020 now. Hey, I took their trip to Mexico. What year was that? I don't even know. But I'm still waiting for those pics from Mexico. I know they're out there. Hey is always on. They might think that they're being slick right now, but I'm on to them.
Oh. This was a nice chat. Thank you so much for coming on and for letting me pick your brain. This was super fun, and it made my day after like a grueling work week.
You're very easy to do. I feel like you sound like one of my old friends.
Well, it's like when I'm talking about Brittana, I come alive and I get real passionate and I get real talky.
That's adorable.
So yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. If you want to be on this thing, like come holler at my DMs, because I just want to talk about Brittana during this quarantine. So do that. Go and show Where's My Naya some love. Go reread her stories because, you know what? They're cute and you could use a laugh right now. All right. Thank you.